In this video about understanding video metrics, we are going to tackle a big topic. Views. View count. Are they important? Should you care? What's the magic number? Let's take a look. Hey marketers, it's Nelson from Skylight Productions, and I'm so excited to be talking about this and this whole series about understanding video metrics and making sure that your videos are getting a good return on your investment. As we're not able right now to be creating new video content, I think it's a great opportunity to go back and look at that previous content that we've created and make sure that it's really optimized, really working for you. And so we're going to take a look at this whole series on what are those metrics we should be looking at. What can we learn from them? What can we learn about our audience? If you missed a previous video, you can always go to skylightproductions.ca/video marketing tips, catch the previous videos and see the next ones. And if you have a question that we haven't covered, go ahead and leave it in the comments and we'll make sure that we answer that and maybe make a future video to tackle that. So let's dive into views. Understanding metrics, understanding your analytics on whatever platform, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, is very, very important. And it's critical to understanding not only how is your video performing now, but how can we improve that? And really, what can we learn from that so that future campaigns maybe are more successful? What I've used views for is as a quick signal as to whether things are working well or not. No matter what your industry, no matter what your category, if you go in and you see a view count of 15, your video is probably underperforming. But that said, not every video is going to have millions and millions of views. It's just not the way things go. So what we want to make sure is that we're looking at those metrics and how they relate to our audience and making sure that we're getting as many views on that as possible. But views are really not as important as engagement, which we will dive into in a future video. What I find is most instructive when you're looking at the amount of views a video has is when you compare that view count with other metrics, such as engagement. If your video has a high view count and low engagement, that actually is not very good because it means that people are maybe drawn to your video, but it's not actually giving you any return or any traction on what you've put out there. People aren't actually clicking through and following your call to action, and in the end, that's kind of what we're going for here. So view count is not incredibly important on its own, but when you compare it with your impressions, when you compare it with your engagement level, that's when you start to get a more full picture of what are people doing with this video. The opposite is also true. If you have a very low view count, but you have a high engagement rate, that can also be very instructive because maybe there's a problem with some of our tagging. Maybe there's a problem with some of our keywording or our thumbnail where people aren't necessarily clicking through to the video, but once they get there, they're all in, they're hooked, they're engaged. Now we can start to see what are some of the problems with how we've set things up because we can take a look at those views relative to impressions, relative to engagement. In the next video, we're going to take a look at what I think are much more instructive and useful metrics, engagement and impressions, and what we can learn from those in terms of how our video is performing and how do we optimize that. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.